Hello everyone. In this video, I'm going to talk about some of my expectations for class. So hello, this is Mr. Durning. And so here's some additional information to go through. So what materials do you need to have in class? What do you need to have every day with you? So one thing that we're going to give you that ISA is providing is a Pearson DP chemistry textbook. We have a hard copy for every student, and with that hard copy, we have digital access. The book is very heavy, so the idea is that we'll send a copy home with you. We'll keep track of who has what copy, and then we will also give you digital access in case we want to use those textbooks or you want to review during the school day. You'll have an account through Pearson, and you'll be able to access the digital version of the book in school. You need a calculator. Really, you should have a graphing calculator anyways for a math class, a GDC, something like a TI-84 or similar. You're going to use this at home and in school to do practice problems. Using your phone is really not going to be allowed and not recommended. It's much easier to use the graphing calculator. So please bring it with you every day in your backpack and have it charged. I will be giving a couple of very large handouts each unit. So I give usually a big packet for notes, and I give another big packet of practice questions, and occasionally there's a few other handouts that happen throughout the unit, maybe for labs, maybe a data booklet, something like that. So usually what students find most helpful is to have a 2-ring binder to keep track of all those handouts. Now, some people really prefer to have a notebook where they write all of their own notes, and that's okay. You are in grade 11 now, grade 12, and so I am trusting and expecting you to be responsible and keep track of these materials. But really the way that you're going to be most successful is if you have a 2-ring binder or a really sturdy folder that can keep track of things. Once we get through a unit, you can certainly put those materials at home to keep your binder small and manageable. But that's what I recommend. You also need things to write with, so pens or pencils are okay. And bringing a laptop to class each day is also expected, as we will be using online simulations. We use data collection through a program called Pasco. We'll watch videos. So you never know when you might need to use your laptop. So make sure that you've got a laptop and make sure that you also have a charger. Some optional things that I encourage: if you have an iPad and something like an Apple Pen that you can write on it with, this is actually, I think, the best way to take notes. There are some great programs like the one I'm using right now called Notability, which allows you to write on documents. If you make a mistake, you can just undo it. You can highlight, that's the wrong button. You can highlight things in your notes. You can write things and then shrink it. So, if you do that, you could highlight it like this, and then you can move it around. You can shrink it and change its size. So to me, it's like a really nice use of technology to make taking notes better, cleaner, more organized. And it also means that I don't have to print out as many hard copies in class. And so that saves paper, which is really nice as well. In addition to the Pearson textbook, if you find that that's a little bit too big and too overwhelming, then there's another book that's called the IB Study Guide for DP Chemistry. It's not available yet for this new syllabus for exams in 2025, but as soon as it is, I will share information about that. It's not required, but often students find it to be a nice, concise, helpful resource when they're studying for tests. Okay, so those are the things that you need to bring to class every day. Homework. Most days you will be assigned some homework for this class, probably for most of your DP classes. The way that I mostly assign homework, I often assign videos. Sometimes I might assign reading since we have these new textbooks. And the expectation is that you will be reading or watching videos prior to class and taking notes. And what that does is it allows you to go at your own pace. And that means, like with a YouTube video, if you're following just fine, you could watch the video at 1.5 speed if you can keep up. But it also means that you can pause videos, you can rewind videos. It's a way to let you work through the material at your own pace at home prior to coming to class. And so my expectation will be that that has been done prior to class. And so when you show up, I'm going to expect, depending on the topic, that there's some base level of understanding already before I move into the lesson. And so Obviously, there's going to be time to go over things that confused you, to answer your questions. And so the better job you do of completing those thoughtfully, taking notes, highlighting areas of confusion, highlighting questions that you have, that's really key so that we can show up, we can address those questions, and then we can move on. There's a lot of content, a lot of skills, a lot of concepts in this course, and we need to move quickly. And this is one of the ways I've found to be most effective for moving through the course, both quickly but also effectively. And if you get behind on this homework, it's really gonna add up, and it's gonna start to impact how successful you can be on the exams. It's going to affect your understanding. So getting into good routines early for this class and doing those pre-learning assignments is huge. Other types of assignments typically are things like practice questions. Whenever I do practice questions, I'll always try to have answers and, if possible, even a solution video where I work through the questions and show you how I do it. It will be expected that if I assign practice questions, that you are also taking the time to check your answers and check the solutions so that at the start of class, really quickly, we can go over the areas of confusion and then we can move on. Of course, there's also sort of informal, unassigned homework, such as when we have a test and you know it's a week away. It will be encouraged and suggested that you begin your revision practices and split it up so you do a little bit each night, or you at least do it over a couple of nights and not just the night before. Same idea for lab reports. Those should not be written in one night. If you break it apart and do some each night, that gives you more chances to ask me questions, and it's definitely going to lead to greater success in the class. Okay, in terms of your grades in the class, your semester grades are just based on the work that happens during that semester. So semester 1 is only based on work in semester 1, and semester 2 grade will only be based on what you do in semester 2. The grades are based on the same percentages as the IB, so 80% is based on unit tests and perhaps unit quizzes if we're doing any quizzes, and 20% will be based on investigative work, and really that means any sort of lab assignment that we formally assess. So probably there'll be a big lab report each semester, and that will make up 20% of your grade for that semester. The grade for the year in grade 11 weights a little bit more heavily to semester 2 because you've had a greater opportunity to learn from your mistakes in semester 1, and it's a better reflection of where you are at the end of the year than semester 1. So that's why it's weighted a little bit more heavily towards your semester 2 average, but also there's a final exam. And so a final exam will be given in June, and that will be worth 20% of your year-end grade. We have some grade boundaries that we use in this class. Now these grade boundaries are to give an accurate sense of your level compared to how you would do on the IB exam at the end of the course. And so these grade boundaries, every year reflecting on results, these grade boundaries, sometimes they change a little bit. They sometimes become more forgiving. They sometimes become more challenging depending on how accurately I'm able to predict students' scores on the actual IB exam. And so these grade boundaries here have been serving me for quite some time and have allowed me to accurately predict IB scores. So on unit tests, in order to achieve a 7, in HL, that means you're earning about 85% or higher, and in standard level, that means about 81% or higher. And you could then follow the rest of the grade boundaries down. And so this is how you'll receive grades on unit tests, but also how we'll determine your semester and year-end grades. For lab reports, the grade boundaries are provided by the IB themselves. So these grade boundaries are not made by me, but by the IB. So for example, in order to earn a 7 on a lab report, you need to be earning at least 20 points out of the total 24 points on a full IA lab report. And so I'll use these same percentages, even if we do a lab report that's on fewer criteria, so it's not worth 24 points, I will apply the same percentages, essentially, to figure out what IB score you've earned on that lab report. And then I do a conversion to give you a score on the normal grade boundaries, the ones that are up here. And so, for example, if you earned a 20 is a low 7, a 20 out of 24. And so a low 7 in HL is like an 88, and a low 7 in SL, because they have different grade boundaries, is about an 84%. And so your lab report would then get turned into one of these conversion scores for your overall semester or year-end grade. And finally, communication. We are going to be together for 2 years, and I really hope that it's a great 2 years. I hope it's fun, engaging. I hope you learn a lot. I hope you're challenged. I hope that we build a nice community together. But the way that that works best is if we communicate with one another. If you are struggling, if you're not understanding something, you've got to find a way to communicate that with me and be honest with me about it. Whether that means raising a hand in class and asking a question, or approaching me after class, writing an email to me, finding a way to communicate with me so that we can assess what your issues are, how we can help you, we can problem solve together and come up with solutions. And the earlier we can do that, the better. It's really essential that you complete your own work and that you give credit to your sources. Unless it's explicitly said you're not using AI for your work, you're not copying from other people for your work, because if it's not your work, then you're not actually learning and you're not actually growing. So always complete your own work unless you're explicitly told that you're allowed to do otherwise. When I have concerns about you, a student, I will talk to you first, but then I will probably communicate home. This could happen after a low test score, after a number of homework assignments are not completed, if there's an incident of academic dishonesty or a behavior issue. So these communications are not meant to be punitive, but they're to bring everybody in on the conversation so that everyone has all the information, so that we can support you and help find effective solutions for helping you be successful in this class. So I'll always contact you, the student, before I send communications home of this manner. But be prepared. It's just something I do, and it's not meant to get anyone in trouble. It is just to help, to find solutions, and to support you to be successful in this class. So those are my main expectations for the DP Chemistry course. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out and ask in class.